Welcome to McEwen Mining. My name is Rob McEwen, and with me today presenting is Anna Ladd-Kruger, who is our Chief Financial Officer. McEwen Mining is a company that has exposure to gold, silver, and copper, and we think we are uniquely positioned right now to represent a contrarian moment for investors. Our safe harbor statement essentially says, if you're risk adverse, don't buy our shares. The three metals that we're in are, we have leverage to gold, silver, and copper. And in this graph, you can see going from March of last year till now, that gold's up 21%, copper's up 89%, McEwen Mining is up 119%, and silver up 123%. I'd like to move on to show you what I believe is a contrarian opportunity. The last 2 years for us have been very difficult from an operational standpoint. And as a result, we've far underperformed the industry. And prior to that, we were always outperforming the industry. So what are some of the things that could cause us to close this gap? What are some of the developments? And I want to talk about an asset that is largely overlooked in our portfolio, and that is our Los Azules copper project. It's a very large deposit, and if you were to use today's metal prices and converted the copper to a gold equivalent, this deposit would be equivalent on an indicated resource base of 23 million ounces and on an inferred resource base of 44 million ounces, and that's without including any of the gold or silver also in the deposit. In this slide, you can see some very long intercepts of good grade copper. And what we have here is 10.2 billion pounds of copper at 0.48% and 9.3 billion. That's in the inferred, and before that is the indicated. You can see the gold and the silver. We did a preliminary economic assessment back in 2017 that was very robust at $3 copper. And today, copper is over $4. But some of the highlights are an average annual production of 415 million pounds of copper at $1.14 a pound, including gold and silver credits. And this would be for the first 13 years. A mine life of 36 years. The initial capital of 2.4 billion and a payback of 3.6 years, but that was at $3 copper. Now, on the next slide, I'm going to show you the sensitivity to the copper price. And at the current price on this, the graph on the left, you can see down at the bottom at a $4.20 price, it has using a 8% discount rate, it has an NPV of $5 billion. On the right graph, you can see that right now, over $4, it's looking at a IRR of greater than 30%. And that's what I call our misunderstood asset, one that's been overlooked. I can say that with the higher copper prices of today, that the interest in this property is picked up. We currently have 2 majors in our data room, and we're pursuing a path where we're looking two options, one of joint venturing the property and the other is to spin it out into a separate company, and in both cases raising sufficient funds to advance this project to production, feasibility and then production. So since last year, we made some big changes, and I want to tell you what's happening. We added a new senior management team at head office and at the mine sites. We had a perilous financial position, and we've addressed that. We have, this year, production will be 22 to 39% higher than last year. We've extended the mine lives in Mexico, in Timmins, and recently in Gold Bar, our Nevada property. We have a large exploration program, both in Timmins and in Nevada, in excess of $14 million. And as I said earlier, we're moving to monetize our Los Azules copper asset.
Thanks, Rob. So I'm just going to briefly go through our 2021 operational and financial highlights. So we ended the year at 2020, finishing at 92,000 gold ounces, about 2 million silver ounces, which is equivalent to 115,000 gold equivalent ounces. 2021 is looking much stronger with a 20 to 30% increase in our gold equivalent ounces of 141,000 to 160,000 gold equivalent ounces. Our current cash balance is 54 million in treasury, and this was on the back of a massively successful financing. We closed at about 31.5 million, but there was interest of over 120 million in that financing. With the completion of this financing, our Ontario operations, specifically our Froome development project, which is slated to be in commercial production in Q3 of this year, is fully funded, as is our exploration programs that are fully funded both for Canada and for the United States. And just speaking quickly to our capital structure, so the McEwen Mining has a very unique share structure with Rob's personal investment of 165 million, which includes the $25 million loan, making his ownership at 18%. McEwen is a fully dual listed issuer on the TSX and New York Stock Exchange, maintains a diversified stock ownership, 64% retail, 18% institutional. The institutional funds are very well represented, as you can see on the slide. And finally, the shares are very liquid at approximately 7.9 million is the average daily trading volume over the past 3 months. And this has picked up materially over the last couple of months. Our operations are quite diversified. We have both diversified production, we have a development pipeline, and lots of explorational potential. Our operating mines are in gold and silver, and first in Ontario, the Black Fox, which is part of our Fox complex, is ramping down, and we're ramping up with our Froome development pipeline project in Ontario. We've got Gold Bar, and we've got El Gallo as our residual heap leaching project in Mexico. And finally, we are the 49% owner of our joint venture of the San Jose mine with Azules Mining. In terms of our development, we've got quite an extensive portfolio. In Canada, we've got the Fox complex with a PEA scheduled to deliver in Q2 of this year. We also have just recently delivered our Phoenix project in Mexico, and that feasibility was filed earlier this month. And finally, as Rob spoke about earlier, we've got our significant copper asset in Los Azules. I'll now turn it back over to Rob to speak a little bit more about our operations.
Thank you, Anna. Hello again. Our operations, I'm going to talk about the 3 that we operate. We have a 4th operation, but it's managed by our joint venture partners, Hochschild Mining. So the Fox complex is looking at our Black Fox deposit, our Gray Fox, our Stock West, and our Lexum properties that are in Timmins. So first off, the Froome deposit, which is about 1 kilometer away from Black Fox, it will be in production in the 4th quarter, commercial production. Right now, we're driving a ventilation and production 2 ramps to the ore body. We expect to be at the ore body in the next 2 weeks. We will be delivering in the 2nd quarter a preliminary economic expansion study that would include all of the properties I just mentioned. And we have a $9 million exploration program across primarily at our Stock Mine property and at Gray Fox. Gold Bar, we just released an updated feasibility study and we did extensive work after last year's resource and reserve write-down. In the feasibility study, we're showing 320,000 recoverable ounces of gold, equating to a 6-year mine life. We think there's good opportunity around the property to expand that, and we have a $5 million exploration program underway there. El Gallo is in Mexico, and we just recently released the Phoenix Gold and Silver feasibility study, which envisions a 9.5-year mine life producing both gold and silver. On the next slide, we're showing you the location of Gold Bar. It's located in Nevada on the Cortez Trend, and the Gold Bar property is about 25 miles south of the Cortez Hills and 4-mile discovery of Barrick, and that property is now part of the Nevada Gold Mines Cortez cluster of about 50 million ounces accounted for there. We're on the same trend. The host rock is similar. We have a large land package. And so we're looking at this, we feel it's underexplored with good upside. And now that we have a mine up and running, that provides a good base to go forward with that, both looking at surface and deeper targets. Taking a look at some of those targets on this slide, you can see our deposits in red. Our near mine targets are around the red ones in pink. And then we have brownfields targets in brown. and some of the more blue sky, the green fields are shown in green along the faults, the Wall Fault and the Roberts Fault. So as I said, we're spending a little over $5 million this year at Gold Bar. We are also looking at a property that we own, which is situated between Gold Bar and Barrick's or Nevada Gold's property. It's called Tonkin. It has a resource of 1.8 million ounces. But what interests us right now, it's a mixture of sulfide and oxide, and there is a oxide resource in excess of 200,000 ounces at just under a gram per ton. And it's within easy trucking distance of our Gold Bar property, and we can see that adding further life to Gold Bar. I'd now like to take you to Northern Ontario, to Timmins district, one of the large gold districts in the world. And this map is just showing a couple of things. The dotted line, black dotted line, is called representing the Destor-Porcupine Fault, which is a major structure that hosts a number of mines from Timmins all the way into Val-d'Or in Quebec. You can see the Trans-Canada Highway, which is in gold with some dash lines inside of it. And our properties are located along the Destor-Porcupine Fault. Starting on the left, bottom left, is our Fox-Lexum properties, where there is 1.5 million ounces and measured and indicated, and a further 950,000 ounces inferred. Then we go to the middle of the slide and you see the Stock Mine and Mill. And right now there's a measured and indicated of 120,000 ounces and a small amount of inferred. And over on the right, the Black Fox Mine, 20 miles away or 32 kilometers away from the Stock Mill. And there we have the Black Fox Mine, the Froome deposit, and Grey Fox. And in there you're looking at 1.4 million ounces measured and indicated and 192,000 inferred. All in all, just under 3 million ounces measured and indicated and a further 1.15 million ounces inferred. On the next slide, some of the attraction to this area is when you look in similar geological settings that host our mine, you can see some of the mines in the district in Timmins and Kirkland Lake. What we're showing here in this cartoon is the depth the ore bodies of those mines in those areas have gone. You can see they go down to 2,000 meters, and you can see my old stomping grounds, Red Lake, when I was building Gold Corp, is down over 2,000 meters. What intrigued me about Black Fox and the stock property was the relative shallowness, if I can say that, of these mines relative to these other districts in the same geological setting. And we think there is good opportunity both to find extensions to depth, and certainly that's the purpose of a lot of our exploration, but there was a lot of property unexplored on the package we bought, and so there is opportunity to build assets going along strike. On the next slide, I'm just showing there are two property packages that we purchased, the Black Fox mine and the Stock Mill. This is showing the Black Fox mine. It's located in the upper corner of this gray outline. Just off to the left is the Froome deposit. As I said, it's about 1,000 meters away with 180,000 indicated at 5 grams. And then 2.2 miles or 3.5 kilometers away to the south is Grey Fox with just under 900,000 ounces indicated at 7 grams and 137,000 ounces inferred at 6 grams. I now want to show you the Froome deposit. At the picture you're seeing here, over on the right in gray is an illustration of the open pit that as is at the Black Fox mine, and then the workings below it that go down to 800 meters. And you can see coming out near the bottom of the gray area, a line, a diagonal line going over to the left, and that's the Froome deposit. This, the Froome deposit's different than Black Fox. Black Fox is a nuggety ore body with a lot of underground workings, a lot of travel to bring it up from the bottom to the surface. We're coming out of the bottom of the pit over to Froome. The ramp is at a 5-degree slope, so very shallow. It's a straight line, no corners, no extra turning. The deposit is close to surface, relatively shallow, so suited for low cost, and it's suitable for bulk mining. The ore body, rather than nuggety, is more disseminated in its style, and the grade is more consistent and continuous. We're going to have larger mining widths, larger stopes, and as I said, the shallow slope and the straight lines make haulage and much more cost effective and reduces underground congestion. And there's better ground conditions, and we expect that to reduce the dilution that's been experienced at Black Fox and improve grade control. On the next slide, we're showing one of the deposits that make up the Grey Fox complex. It's called Whiskey Jack. We discovered some pretty exciting holes there in 2019, and this resource is continuing to grow. You can see in the blue are the results of drill holes prior to 2019. The black is 2019, and the yellow is 2020. We will be going back there to drill with some of the flow-through funds we raised this year. I just want to point out that you can see in the table on the right the grades and then the width in meters, grade in grams per ton, and then you have further to the right some included intercepts that were part of those intercepts. But I just want to draw your attention to a few of them. Down near the bottom, we're hitting good grades, reasonable widths. Hole 1293 returned 53 meters, just over, or 53 grams over 7.4 meters. Just below that, hole 1248 delivered 9 grams over 44 meters, and that was in 2019. In 2020, hole 1255 delivered 20 grams over just under 8 meters, and 1325, and these are all showing up on the bottom left right-hand side of that illustration. 12.7 grams over 13.8 meters. It's a very interesting addition to the Gray Fox complex. I'd now like to take you to our stock property, which I said earlier was 25 miles away. This is where our mill is. So we transport our ore from Black Fox, and we'll do so from Gray Fox to the stock for milling, processing. Looking at this busy graph, right in the center is the stock mine. It's a shallow mine. It went down to 330 meters and they stopped mining there. At surface is the mill, and that is one of the key points here that should stock west, stock east, and below the stock mine prove to have sufficient mineralization, there's no transportation. It's just straight to surface and being processed. So the stock mine, we first started exploring to the east, and that's a low grade cluster, but we encountered some very high grade areas, 62 grams over 6 meters, 34 grams over, again, a little over 6 meters. We went from stock east to stock west, and drilling over there last year in 19 and 20. There's an area that's growing. We have a mineral resource there that we're working on to bring into a mineral inventory and an indicated resource that will form part of the preliminary economic assessment for the expansion plan of the Fox complex. And then we were drilling below the stock mine, 600 meters below its workings. And you can see just off center at the bottom, a hole that ran 27 grams over 7 meters. And what's really caught our attention, and we were hoping it might exist, we were looking to see if the stock west deposit, and you can see it dipping to the right, pointing down towards stock deep. And we've just completed a hole and intercepted visible gold at over 700 meters down, sort of in line if you were to draw a line from stock west to the stock mine. We also have encountered some holes, 4.3 grams over 14 meters and 7.6 grams over 11 meters. They're shown in the darker print. You can look on the left and see the intercept lengths are ranging from 14 meters to 40 meters, grades from 4 to 7 grams. So this is an exciting area, and we're looking at the PEA for the stock expansion. We think there's a very real opportunity that this collection of assets in and around the Timmins camp could deliver 100 to 150,000 ounces a year and have a life in excess of 10 years. The next project I want to talk about is our Argentinian silver and gold mine. We own 49% of it. It's operated by our partner, Hochschild Mining. They do a really good job of that. Our property is shown in gold. It's, as you can see, it's a large package. The scale bar down at the bottom is 12 miles. It is a very high grade mine. In fact, it would be considered one of the highest grade mines in the Americas when you look at the combined gold and silver grades. The reserve grade, 459 grams silver and 7.3 grams gold. It has about a 5-year life. Something to point out is that Gold Corp bought the property that's shown in gray, and it's now owned by Newmont. But Gold Corp paid $3.6 billion to buy it and spent a couple of $1 billion building the mine. Production has slipped a little bit down there, but last year it did 330,000 ounces. In 2019, it did over 300,000 ounces. On the next slide, we're just going to show you some of the exploration areas that are under investigation right now on the property package. There's 2 areas you can see. You can see the red lines that are indicating the gold veins, and they're projected. There's a dashed rectangles, both at the top of Newmont's property and on the mid of it. So we basically surround Newmont. We have properties that are adjacent and to what appear to be extensions of their vein structure. And then we're exploring around the mine itself and up in the northwest corner of the property. Some of the results that have come out, this is a narrow grade mine underground, but you can see 1.3 meters of 13.8 grams gold and 3,149 grams silver. It's the exploration right now is to build on resources close to the mine and look outside for areas where we could find additional ore to mine. On the next slide, it's just looking at the vein structures that exist underground at the mine and some of the more recent results. You can certainly see the narrow aspect of it and the extremely high grade gold and silver values. Now on the next slide, just want to talk about the near-term catalysts. As I said earlier on, we are looking at two options for monetizing our Los Azules property and providing the funds to advance that project to feasibility and then production. And that being a possible spin out into a new company and adding to it some copper properties we have in Nevada, or a joint venture with a senior. The Fox Complex preliminary economic assessment will be out in the second quarter, and we're eagerly looking forward to seeing that and sharing what we believe is the future of our mines in the Timmins area. Froome startup is we're going to be into the ore in the next 2 weeks, and we expect to be in commercial production by the fourth quarter. And as I said, we have more than $14 million being spent on exploration in very prolific areas for gold. Thank you very much.